So happy to have my guest here today, Carissa Hunter, integrative health practitioner. How you doing, girl?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm so happy to have you today, man. Um, so we'll get right into it. Can you tell us who is Carissa Hunter?
Well, before any professional title, I am a mother, I am a sister, I'm a friend, kindred. I am human. I love God, I love people. I am also a military spouse to an active duty service member. Shout out to them. But in my professional world, I am a integrative health practitioner. I serve Black and Brown women, helping them with trauma-informed care, all those beautiful things. I am a native of Leesburg, Florida,
Okay,
Central
Leesburg.
Florida. I spent my time between Central Florida and North Florida area, Tallahassee, Florida. I now live on the west side, which is the complete opposite of what I'm used to. It's like a
Oh,
fish out of water.
how's it? What's the difference between Central Florida and Western Florida?
Um, well, when I say west, I mean where I am now. I'm not in Florida. I am in
You're in
Texas.
Texas, Texas, right? Where
Yes,
everything's bigger and better.
yes,
Yeah, that's right. Well, okay,
yeah. That
got
is
you.
true. I found that out.
All right.
That's true.
So what was it like growing up in Florida?
Well, for me, I loved it. The parts that I loved being around family. Had a pretty big family. I'm a church kid, so I
Mm-hmm.
was under my grandmother a lot. I was raised under my aunties and my cousins. But I also grew up with abusive parents, and I was in the
Mm.
foster system a lot. So shout out to my extended relatives that did show up for me, and I made it out of that and I became the complete opposite of what I went through. So I love home, but I got out. I went out to see the world to bring back the tools to help people back home. Yeah.
Dang, that's a good bit to unpack, Carissa. Thank you for being
Yeah.
sharing in that regard. Um, how has how did your childhood make you into the person you are today?
Ooh, there's so many layers. I think I have finally realized I'm halfway to 40. I don't look like it. But I finally realized that I went off to study things, not just for other people, but to heal myself. I had to break away from a lot of what I was taught growing up. I was a very shy kid. I was a very introverted child. There was a lot of things that developed in me where I didn't feel like I was smart enough. I didn't feel like was capable enough to be in certain rooms or understand or comprehend. And so I don't know what it was. I mean, I could say it was God, but when I left, I realized that I went off to study me
Mm.
and save myself. And when I realized that year after year, I believe that saying they say people go to college for things that they need for themselves, or they may go to school or study something. I did that for me, and it helped me break a lot of generational things in terms of addiction, medication, or mental health struggles. And it was probably the hardest choice. I'm one of the people in my family that decided to go off and do the hard thing, if that makes sense.
Mm.
Yeah.
At what point in your life did you realize that this was something that you needed to do for yourself? Like, was there a triggering event? Wh- you know.
That's a good question. That's a really, really, really good question. Um, 2012, I lost my first son,
Mm.
and I was just married. My husband and I had just got married a month. We were newlyweds. It was our first child, and I had a stillborn.
Mm.
And I was already I was in college. I was pursuing something in healthcare related, but I also had just got out of Bible college. I was serving ministry at that time. I got married. When we lost him, it did something to me. It A side of me, yes, naturally, a part of me was gone forever. But the other side of me said, I can't let this stop me. And I still went through what a lot of women like me go through when they lose a child, the postpartum,
Hmm.
the depression. And something in me wouldn't allow me to end up, I guess, snapping or losing it. And so I went into school to pretty much treat myself in a way and pull in resources. I refused to be another science experiment and just take pills and just numb the pain. And I chose to get into more alternative complementary care for myself. And it took some time. It took trial and error. It really did. It was difficult. But it was that moment for me that I got to understand what it looked like to not have support or going through a loss like that, what resources are out here, what wasn't out here. I wanted to be the person to talk about those scary and dark things, especially with bereavement care and women in our health. Yeah.
Was was your husband supportive of you during that time in terms of supporting your healthcare journey?
The best he could. So we were our first child. He lost his father when he was 9.
Mm,
So we're figuring out how to both be spouses. Where I was 22 years old,
mm,
and he didn't know. He loses his first child. Men process things differently. I'm trying to process it in my way. The physical aspect as well. He could tell. I'm sure he would say it today because he said it many times. He wished he knew of things now that he did then, such as bereavement support or doula care. I ended up becoming a doula for a
got you.
few years. I ended up becoming a bereavement doula for other mothers. It took me about 6 years because while I was in study, I had to face a lot of the grief of my own first, because in that space it's pretty sacred and it's not something to just jump in. And that's a very, very treacherous spiritual space to be in.
For those that
Yeah.
don't know, Carissa, can you tell us? Can you explain what a doula is, and also explain what a bereavement specialist is?
Okay, so in simple terms, a doula is a birth worker, someone who is there for emotional support during your infertility journey, your fertility journey, your pregnancy and birth and postpartum. That's before, during, and after. Bereavement is someone who specializes in the support of someone who loses their pregnancy. That could be abortion. That could even be adoption. The process, foster care, stillbirth, like I mentioned earlier, infant loss. That's what bereavement support looks like. Pulling in all the resources, someone who's there to not just support the birthing person, but their family if they're around as well.
So, as a doula, let's say you have a client during the week of labor. What type of interactions have you had, or services that you've provided to this cohort of women?
Um, in the week of labor, well, by then I would have hoped known how they would like to be supported, because there's a few things that leading up to that I get
Mm-hmm.
into. I want to know what helps you feel comfortable. If they have a partner, what helps them get their hands involved with emotional support. I add in aromatherapy in my work.
Mm.
Um, I do techniques, or I did. I no longer do the work, but I would use techniques like sensory, using ice cubes to simulate labor pains, holding it for a few seconds and breathing,
Mm.
working on diaphragmic breathing because breath is your anchor. So if everyone is anchored in that, your partner or even just me, if it sometimes it would just be me and the nurses, for someone they might not have family. So it really is all about them. And I remind them that one, they're safe. Um, I encourage them to use their voices a lot, advocacy a lot, is as far as the process, how they would like to be supported.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big thing for me, which is coming from someone who I did not have a voice. So I saw the complete opposite. And someone who had to retrain my voice, now it's my passion. I'll walk in a room like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So what was the first step you took in your journey? First of all, describe what is an integrative health practitioner?
hmm So, an integrative health practitioner is someone who pretty much bridges the two worlds of both conventional and holistic. So, conventional medicine or conventional health, you probably heard it, it is pretty much your regular doctors, the ones that prescribe your medications, you get your surgeries, you get your diagnosis. That's conventional. And then the other side is your complementary, or you will hear your alternative, your holistic. That's more nutrition based, mind body practices, your herbal support. And for me, I've integrated functional lab testing.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay. So
yes.
you do a little bit of, you do it all, basically.
Yeah, I try. I'm trying.
Okay. What did you, where did you study to get these skills?
So, man, 2012, I started as a phlebotomist. I went to the Health Tech of Georgia. I started working in internal medicine, geriatric. That's my foundation, internal medicine. And it was a small clinic. I was a phlebotomist. After a few years, I was able to cross train. That was favor. That doctor allowed me to cross train within that facility. And then a few years after that, I transitioned out into orthopedics, sport medicine, surgery center. I love that place. I grew up in my own position, but by that time, I was a few years in as an MA. I was helping intern students from local colleges come in as MAs and train them. So that would look like working front office, back office. Um, yeah, I think I answered it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Oh,
And
well, I'm sorry, I didn't answer. I didn't answer where I went to school.
well,
I
yeah.
went to Central Georgia Tech. It
Mm-hmm.
was Middle Georgia Tech.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first college experience.
Mm-hmm.
By 2018, I went to American College of Healthcare Sciences, where I have my integrated health sciences degree from there, where I specialize in clinical herbalism and aromatology.
So let me ask you this:
Yeah.
when you were at that particular school, which of the courses did you enjoy the most, and what did you learn? Because you know I'm very interested
At American College.
yeah, yeah, because
Um,
you specialize in
yeah.
herbalism, right?
Yes, yes. So my favorite was the herbalism and the aromatology because we did it more hands-on. And I literally we would dissect plants and we would study the smallest of the smallest. It wasn't just picking up or saying, hey, let's do lavender. A lot of people don't know there are three different types of lavender plants or multiple different types of species of plants, and they each have different like chemistries of it that will affect our bodies. We get deeper into it. So that was my favorite part, to learn those of aromatology and even herbs. I got to experiment, and I still am.
Uh-huh.
It was the best part for me.
Now, girl, look at here. I love lavender. I ain't gonna tell you no lie. I ordered up a pouch of dried lavender. And it just not only does it smell, but tell what are the effects, Carissa? Break it all the way down.
Yeah. Yeah. So lavender, I mean, it's one of those common things. This to put it in simple terms, because I know I would get long-winded, but relaxing. It's considered a sedative oil or plant because it does help you. But the kick is, I like to throw this out there. For some people, it doesn't have that effect. And that's why when I stepped away as an herbalist, I said, when I come up amongst, the my peers, it's hard for me to just say, hey, you should just use lavender to sleep. There might be other things going on. So that's why I pair functional labs, because sometimes someone's body can do the complete opposite response to a specific herb or oil. And they wonder why it doesn't work. You hear a lot of people say, oh, that didn't work for me.
Mm-hmm.
that plant, that herb didn't, or that tea didn't work for me. But
Yeah.
that's because there might be something going on with their biochemistry that is causing them to respond that way to that particular plant or herb.
Hmm. And other things that you studied um, adjacent to herbalism at the school.
We got into the just pretty much the foundational things, holistic nutrition. We touched on that in my program. There was a lot of writing. My other favorite was we learned how to, which came a breeze for me because I had already worked conventional doing triage and things like that. But I love how they implemented case studies and health assessments. And I'm a firm believer, if there's herbalists out there who are wanting to help our people, there's no way to really help clients and patients if you're not doing a health assessment. If you're, looking at their background and finding out what's going on with them. And that was another thing that I enjoyed doing.
Okay. What's your day to day practice like?
Ooh, my day to day. It varies. So Monday through Thursday, part time, I am serving with the Sickle Cell Foundation out of
Okay.
Tallahassee, Florida.
Okay.
So that's my big role as their communications director,
How'd
and
you get involved?
that's my family.
How'd you get involved with that, Carissa?
Well, one, that's home. Tallahassee's home. Two, I was a family that they helped during COVID. I was a family that they helped. And funny enough, I had lived in Georgia actually for about 10 years before I moved back home in 2019. And that was because Middle Georgia, specifically near the Macon area, you're probably familiar. The
Yeah.
sickle cell, there was no active sickle cell foundation there, and I don't think there still is.
Mm.
And I needed that. We needed that for our daughter, which my
Yeah.
daughter has sickle cell disease. So I said, we got to go home. I got to go home for a little bit. Tallahassee has it. And they came through for my family during the time when we needed them. And then after about a year or two, um, just connecting with them, they discovered that I had these skills, and I was already a stay-at-home mom for a while. I had stepped away. I was raising the family and things, but I was ready to get back into something community health. I was like burning to get back into it, and they were like, "We need someone to kind of help us with digital and health and help bring a holistic perspective." And I was like, "I could do it."
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so since being there, I have helped them grow their online presence. I pretty much am responsible for overseeing the foundation's message and communicate their strategies throughout the whole North Big Bend area so that we cover about 13 counties.
Mm-hmm.
And my role is pretty much promoting the foundation's programs, events. I connect with local radio stations, the billboards you may see. I help put those out there.
All right.
Just my role is everywhere, but
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I love it. It doesn't feel like a job. I'm so blessed. I love that. They're my family. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Whole health IQ. Tell us all about it.
Whole Health IQ, my baby. So Whole Health IQ is pretty much a Black woman centered remote clinic, and I pretty much integrated a few things. I like to focus on cultural relevance with my work because that's important for our community. I like to integrate. I like to say science and soul. We're utilizing those tools like functional lab testing, the herbal therapy, and most of all being trauma informed because I get a lot deeper than just the conventional doctors will they have time for. And I guess call me investigator of health, but I like it. I love investigating someone's, things. I love listening, but I love helping women recognize that their body knows how to heal when they are in a safe place that listens to them and to trust themselves. So that's pretty much what I do. Yeah.
Do you does that statement is the subtext there that a lot of women of color don't have adequate resources in that regard?
A little bit. Yeah.
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 Would you say that we're underserved, or like
Yes.
what's been your experience?
My experience, we are assumed to be less informed.
Mm,
And when we go into these, I say this although I'm a practitioner, and I want to put a disclaimer: I don't diagnose. I'm not a medical doctor. I work with your team. That's what I
gotcha.
do. I do not do that. I
Part
want to
of the
say that.
team.
Yeah, I work a part of that's what integration is. I advocate for everybody to come together like a circle and center the care on the client slash patient, right?
Have you found traditional doctors to be resistant to your involvement? Yeah. How does it express itself?
Um, it could look like challenging their authority when you use your voice or I can just give you an example from experience. To this day, sometimes when I walk into a specialist office, I won't even mention who I am. I purposely do it as a social experiment to see how they'll talk to me. And then when I kind of mirror back the information to them, I can notice pushback sometimes because a lot of doctors, and some, not all, but they are more doctor centered versus patient centered. And that removes any relevance to this patient's culture, their how they feel. I mean, if you got a patient who's been in their body for 40 years, you don't think they know how they feel? That's how I look at it, and that's what I consider. Um, but I have definitely seen doctors resist it. Not just amongst women, but I've seen them amongst black men. My husband, him walking in with his daughter, and if he may advocate for something and say, hey, no, we may not want to do it this way. We're informed. Thank you for that information. It's some pushback. So it's very hard. It's very emotionally draining. But I tell you, it's worth it. It's worth it. That's why I work so hard to keep doing it.
Can you tell us about your typical patient?
Hmm. My typical. Okay, I can tell you. My typical, I say client, for legal reasons.
Yeah, client.
Uh, a typical client in their 30s, typically a mother, um, chronic fatigue, mood swings, um, painful cycles, and trouble sleeping. They got a lot going on. I've had clients who have come to me after reporting to their regular doctor about difficulties and been told, my everything's normal, you're fine. And they'll come to me and I spend a lot more time digging into what's happening, and we may perform like some foundational labs and all the things that their regular doctor would say, hey, these are normal. I've seen some clients end up in the hospital and been called based off of the labs that I've done with them that they needed iron. They needed to get, to the hospital quick because if they kept going, cardiac issues would have happened. And I've seen a lot of women struggling with a lot of things like, abnormal things going on in their body that they keep repeating, and their doctors are not listening.
Mm.
That's like the common core thing I hear. No one's listening. They're coming in, all right, we're gonna do this, and that. Okay.
Mm. How do
Yeah,
you?
so it's
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, I was just reiterating that, yeah, it's the common thing I hear along with myself. I'm gonna put myself in there. It's very difficult to be heard when you're someone who is aware and you study your body. Because I meet other women like me who are very good at listening to themselves. They know when something's off, and they're reading or researching, and they go and a place that's supposed to help them, and they're being told, "Oh, your numbers are normal. There's nothing wrong," and they go months and they're still struggling. That's that's very difficult to deal with.
I noticed that you said that um, have three areas um, that I guess come up: nutrition, mood swings, and painful menses. Right?
Yes.
How do you approach nutrition with people? What is your philosophy on nutrition, Carissa?
Well, I I encourage intuitive eating, and I mean that considering one, we're working with a culture and a lot of women who come from different beliefs and different backgrounds of how they eat. And the way I can answer this is give you an example because I'm integrating a lot of things at one time and how eating is important. I was going through years of restricting myself on what I should eat. I was plant-based eating. I would remove the meat. But for years, I was dealing with my own mental health issues. So my weight dropped. I was aloof. My body wasn't getting enough. I looked on the outside fine to everyone else. I was small. Everyone assumes because you're small, you're healthy, right? That's the assumption, especially for a woman. But I woke up after years of like, wait a minute, I was emotionally eating. And women, when we're dealing with mental postpartum, that's a common thing. Postpartum issues and mental health struggles. The last thing we need is someone telling us you need to detox and diet constantly. When you're already stressed, you may only get one meal a day. So I look at things first. Let's feed your body because one, we need to address here in your heart. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I am with it. Who most of the time I'm first like, hey mama, are we eating today? And then once we get you eating and nourishing your body and we start connecting mind body, then we'll start addressing what types of food you're eating that you can enjoy that are much healthier. So I look at it and I approach it in that manner.
Okay, so suffice it to say, you don't eat chitlins.
Mm-mm.
Do
No.
do do
I'm
do?
country, but I ain't.
You ain't- no pig's feet for
No, sir.
practitioner Hunter. Okay.
Mm-mm.
Do you eat ribs?
I haven't had ribs in a while, but shout out to Leesburg, King Street, the ribs we grew up on. Any day, if I go back home to this day, I will get me some of them ribs. You hear me?
Oh, okay.
They're
What's the
my
name of it?
family's watching.
What's the
It's on. I don't know. Type
what's
in King Street,
no what's the name of it?
barbecue ribs. What is it called? I can't remember what it's called. I know it's off of King Street.
Okay,
Man, it's been there
barbecue
since the
joint
'90s
on King Street in Leesburg,
in
Florida.
Leesburg. It'll pop up. I promise you, it'll pop up. I know it will.
I'm gonna find it and tag them when it's post, right?
Please,
But
please tag them
but
and ship me some sauce.
ship Carissa some sauce, y'all. What kind of they sauce? They sauce is the bomb, then,
It's
huh?
like a vinaigrette mustard base.
Okay, you know what, Carissa? What's so crazy? I just got put on to vinegary mustard based type sauces in the last year or so because I'm from Tennessee originally, and so
Okay.
we like our stuff one way, but then I found out
Yeah.
these different regions have different types of sauces.
They do
It
here. It's so different. I'm in West Texas, Mexico area, literally.
got you.
So their sauces very it tastes different. They made for the chicken over here, not the seafood. You gotta leave that over there to the Florida and Georgia and Louisiana side.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So what they stuff what they stuff tastes like over there?
A bunch of tacos, and I love it.
No, I feel
I'm not
you.
gonna lie to you. It's beautiful. It is very it literally is like me living in Mexico, USA. I'm right
Yeah,
near the border.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
everything is very Mexican influence. So their taste, their palate is definitely different than Tennessee and Florida. Yeah.
Yeah, I lived in a Mexican adjacent town too, right by the border in Yuma, Arizona.
See?
You know what I'm saying? I lived out there for
Oh
4 years,
yeah.
so I know exactly
Desert.
what you're talking about. Shout out to my Mexican folk out there in Yuma,
Yes.
Arizona. You know, y'all know how to get
Yes.
down over there. Um,
I'm eating
how,
good out here, y'all.
so how do clients find you?
Okay, so clients can find me at wholehealthiq.com. I'm also on Instagram, Whole Health IQ, TikTok, Whole Health IQ, as well as Facebook. You can email me. All that information is on my website. And reach out to me. I offer virtual consultations, and from there, self-directed lab access goes through me. I offer mentorship, and most of all, cultural understanding. Because it's one thing when you connect with whether it's a doctor or a practitioner, and they can understand the lingo. That means something. Or they can look at you a certain way, and we get each other. That gives safety for me, for my personal providers. I need mine good and black. I need
Okay.
some aunties,
Yeah, you
but
need some
it's a
aunties.
cultural thing. I do,
Yeah.
I'm for me that my body is safe. I
Yeah.
feel safe with that. That's important, and I know a lot of other women that feel the same way. And I know it's a discomforting for some, conversation for some people to talk about, but we didn't even get into which is something that I hope to dive in on my platform. The medical experimentation, that history still is it's residue,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
No doubt. No doubt.
So we can't run from that, and it's still here. So
You talk about generational trauma on your page. I see that you've made several references to that. What is
mhm.
generational trauma, and how have you experienced that in your own life, and kind of in your patients' lives? The examples of how that informs the present.
So that's so good you asked me that, because my goal is to overall dive into faith-based organization collaboration, because a lot of that trauma for our people comes from that, and I experienced that. And um, I want to be able to expand and collaborate with a lot of the religious and faith-based organizations to break the generational cycles and restore wholeness inside out, because we're integrative health is spiritual, mind, body, and soul. But we also, because our community has been so traumatized by ignoring their body, being told just pray, you don't need a therapist, or no, you don't need that surgery. We're in 2025. It's okay to have a doctor who know how to lay hands, but honey, we need this surgery, or you need this surgery. It's okay to take medication. If you want to gradually get there, then taper off if it's safe, if your team is okay with that. Let's talk about it. So I experienced it in the space of when I had my child, when I lost my son, and I was in church at the time. I didn't have mental health support. Nobody supported me and my husband. We were told, yeah, go ahead.
For real? The church
Yeah,
didn't have any supportive
no,
departments. See that,
no.
Carissa, that's another thing that I think about quite a
Yes,
lot. I talk to people. There are so many services. My professor, I went to Morehouse. We used to talk about all the
yes.
time how there are churches on every block in our community. Like like on every block. It's more churches than gas stations in our community,
Come
right?
on now.
But why is it, like I was talking to my boy the other day, why isn't there a literacy program in the churches?
Come on.
Why isn't 100% of the people in the sanctuary, why aren't they literate? You know what I'm saying? Why
That's what I mean.
don't we have in-house credit counseling? Like I see what you're saying. Like a lot of those
Yes.
things that we were
Like
sitting around here waiting for the
clinics.
government to do. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And so brings me to my point. I studied my way out of that programming. And when I say I studied, my husband and I specifically, we tied in our community. And we have in so many ways more than local agencies have.
Mm.
And it never looks the same. I mean, and that's ministry for us,
You tithing in the
because
community.
Yes.
in the
Yeah, we
community,
tithe it in
in
it.
the
There you go.
in the
I'm a
community.
Pentecostal kid, and
Uh
so
oh.
I
Uh
get it.
oh.
Yeah.
Uh oh. I
Yes.
see. Okay. 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 I see the anointing
Yes.
about to come down on you
Come on
right
now.
now. I see you. You know.
My
Okay.
auntie's on here. She probably watching, but yeah,
So
it's and that's what for sure. I hope that I can go back home and to the receptive churches because I know some ain't gonna be receptive to it,
why they
and
not
that's
receptive?
the issue.
Why they not receptive?
Um, business.
Talking about dollar bill, y'all. Cream,
Yep. Yeah. It's
Skrilla.
business. It's so heartbreaking because I'm gonna tell you something. I would rather walk in a church that's the size of my room,
Mm.
like what my granny had,
Okay.
than these big churches. You know what I mean? Because I feel like I have to commend some of the grandmother generation. There are some of them are transitioning, but they seem more open and minded with things versus those that came after them.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope to change that because again, what you asked, I feel that is a starting point of the root for our community because faith-based organizations have a large influence on our health and wellness
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
if they convince someone you don't need any clinical support, just pray and rub
Mm-hmm.
oil on it. You
Right.
have low bilirubin and hemoglobin and high blood pressure. What are we going to do?
Right. Right.
That's what I.
Mm-hmm. Girl, so what's your
Yeah.
plan? What's your plan to change that though? Have you reached out to some churches? I know some of these elders and some of these deacons, etc., have been traditionally resistant to anybody bringing up anything
Well,
new.
yeah. Well, I shout out to the Sickle Cell Foundation. They are an organization that does this work. We do collaborate with local organizations in Tallahassee, local churches. So we do that. We do events with the foundation in local churches that they do the work. Now for whole health, I'm connecting with my home church
Okay.
that I grew up in. My grandmother was a pastor, a known pastor, community leader. She was a med tech in the United States Army, black woman during a time when the military wasn't even fully integrated for them.
What was her
I
name?
watched her walk Trifolia Brinson.
Trafoya Brinson?
Yes, you know her?
No, but I'm just saying I know that's a sister with a name like Trafoya
Come on
Brinson.
now. Do
Ain't
you know
nothing but a
anybody with
sister.
Trifolia?
I don't know no Trafoyas or no Brinsons. You know what I'm saying? So I know it's my people. I know it's
Yes,
my people.
yes.
You know what I'm
With
saying?
Georgia, the Brinsons are from Georgia. My grandfather, Georgia man.
Okay.
Yep. So,
Did
yep.
you know did you know
So
your did you know your granddaddy?
I did
Were
very
y'all
close with him.
I was just about to ask
Very
y'all close.
close.
What's the biggest thing
Very,
you
very
learned?
close.
I was very close to my granddaddy too. What's the biggest thing
Yeah.
you learned from your granddaddy?
Um, his silent strength was amazing. His silent strength was something I found in my husband. He was
Okay.
the only man I can say on this earth that never hurt or harmed me. He showed me the way that he cared for a leader of a woman like my grandmother. She was a military woman. She was the leader, the pastor. Everybody called on her. But it takes a very fine, distinct, special man to stand and be able to soften a woman like that and stand by her. That man was amazing.
So let's listen. Now we getting into the weeds. I know a lot of brothers and
Yeah.
others that are with very strong women. What are some of the techniques that your granddaddy used to deal with a towering pillar of strength such as your grandmama, Miss Trefoya? I know Miss Trefoya didn't play. You know what I'm saying? So I know your
She
granddaddy had to have some
didn't.
techniques.
He was more than likely smooth with it because I do remember. I don't care if my granny had an attitude. I would sit at her feet in the living room, and he would
Yeah.
head out to work every morning. He would come and give us some sugar, whether she liked it or not. But he was
Okay.
very persistent and kind to her, whether she was in a mood or not.
Mm-hmm.
He knew how to get to her in ways that were so gentle and soft. They had eight children in a 4-bedroom house that
Dang.
all of us
Okay.
grew up in.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, and he wasn't. I mean, as a child, I wouldn't have known the term, but I look back on it now. I don't. Granddaddy wasn't intimidated by that. He was a man. He was out
Mm.
again. He was working hard for his family, and he loved my grandmother. He loved her. My grandmother transitioned in 2022, and shortly after, he transitioned, and it was no surprise. He transitioned. He was 90 something years old, 91, 2.
How did
Yeah,
how did you
yeah.
see her honor him?
Same way. She allowed him to lead in a beautiful way. Um, he was right there. They was always next to each other. They was
Mm-hmm.
always next to each other. It's just so beautiful. And as I got older, I mean, I'm now the age I am. I'm a mother and a wife. I realized, wow, I didn't realize how much my grandparents made an impact on me on how I looked at relationships and marriage, given what I went through as a child. Even though I went through what I went through at home, um, I'm thankful I had the foundation of my grandmother. I'm so thankful that I was able to walk with her through those hospitals because I was being a little intern and didn't know it. I was going to turn around and do the same, you know? So I'm thankful for that.
Your parents still alive?
Yes. Yeah.
What was the source of the I guess what I'm saying is the trauma that you experienced with your parents, was that
Okay.
generational trauma for them as well?
Yep. Mhm.
Did
Mhm.
you forgive your parents?
Absolutely.
When did you forgive them?
Um, I forgave them as a child. But add this, I lived in Stockholm syndrome for a long time.
Mm. Break it down.
Stockholm syndrome is pretty much when you're abused by someone and you're emotionally attached to them, you would do anything you can to try to make the situation something it really isn't. And I try to fix my parents. I would claim, I'm a daddy's girl, I love you, and I want to go with my daddy. Well, no, really, daddy did some things to you that he went to prison for, honey.
Mm.
But I lived like that for year after year. And it wasn't until I became a mom and it started. I wasn't able to say he was my abuser until just 5 or 4 years ago. Yeah.
How, how did that affect your relationships prior to your husband? If you,
Oh, that's a good question because that's something that I touch on for women. It affected a lot. If
how?
I wasn't safe in my body, and that affected my trust with myself. As far as the intimacy of friendship, romantic relationship. I didn't feel intellectually I was smart because of what I would hear growing up. You know, those things are so embedded into our psychology, our brain, that a lot of people breeze over the effect of trauma, and it affected me a long time. These right here on my wall mean nothing. It took me 10 years to finally put these up because I didn't see the value in those. My parents didn't go to college. I'm the first generation college student, and I didn't realize that. I didn't have them in the bleachers. I just did it. My husband, my kids, they were there.
What
Yeah.
what type of how do you counsel somebody who has dealt with trauma from their parents? And kind of the disclaimer is, and this is kind of part of my origin story, and everybody knows it because I've never hidden it. My father was a heroin addict my whole life, um, and as a result, there's trauma, that is there, that I've dealt with and worked on through the years, but I also have great empathy for other people, other kids that have seen
Yes.
some real life very very early. You know what I mean? So
Yes,
and I, and I
absolutely.
And I think also that's why I wanted to talk to you. I
Thank you.
respect, the work that you're doing and the mission,
Thank you.
for that because, people don't understand, you can, those things never leave. You know what I'm
Never
saying? So,
leaves.
you're constantly working, on that, to
Thank you
address
for that.
those things. Yeah, you know what I mean. So,
That
props to you
that
for
hit.
that.
I appreciate that. I put it into my house. That was generational for me. I'm a present parent.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
hear my children. I listen to them. My home is probably one of the safest refuges places ever. I created what I didn't have.
yeah.
That's what I did. I
That's
went to
what it
create what I
is.
didn't have.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Um, what if there's somebody out there that um is on a journey of whatever type, whether it be emotional, whether it be physical slash health, intellectual growth,
Hmm.
who you may look in the mirror and see their reflection coming back at you. How do you recommend somebody start addressing whatever it is?
Mm.
Because they say
It starts
starting
with
is the hardest part.
it is because I've heard that a lot, and even I felt that way. I'm like, I don't know where to start, and I could say, trust yourself. What you feel is not in your head, and breathe because a lot of us are holding our breath. There is, I had to learn the alchemy of breath and how much the trauma was in my shoulders.
Mm.
Like I would get body work, and I have a special friend. My mother's trauma sits here, my father, and I would hold it in, and when she would get in them knots, I would bawl my eyes out, and I'm like, that's anger, that's pain, all of that, and I knew that. But sometimes, what I will encourage people is sometimes we got to be careful too. Even with good things, we can cope. And I mean that by, yes, holistic is great. Doing mind body therapies is great. But don't do it to where you are consumed and ignoring yourself. It's okay if you need to take a step back and sit in some stuff a little bit. It's okay to cry. It's I say crying is discharge from your body. You got to get it out. But your story, your body, your beliefs, all of that matter. You deserve care that meets you where you are and people around you that are going to walk with you toward where you're going. And that is what whole person healing should be. And that's what I believe it is. And I believe it belongs to all of us. And I wanted to be a part of providing that type of space.
I love that. You
Thank you.
you're a candidate for a higher degree right now. Is that correct?
Yes, I am.
Tell us all
Yes.
about it.
So one, I told myself I wasn't going back to school for one.
You know you love
I
school,
did.
girl.
I do. I'm a professional student at this point.
Yeah.
That's what I say. I'm a professional student. But yes, I'm currently a doctorate student at Kingdom College of Natural Health. And I chose this school for many reasons. Simply put, um, it aligned with my views in my work. It doesn't place these, no offense to my peers and those doing a great work, it doesn't put me in a restrictive bound with the government. And I would say I like to talk the way that I talk. I like to be real the way that I like to be honest. And I'm still doing effective work legally, let's be clear. But I'm studying pharmacognosy, which is medicinal herbalism. and it's the science of natural medicines uh, derived from plants and other natural resources. So this program is going to deepen my understanding of how herbal and those natural compounds work in the body and how they can be used safely and effectively, and how to blend that knowledge with modern health practices for my clients.
I heard that. When you gonna be done?
I'll be done by early 2028.
Okay. Right
Not that
on there,
far.
girl. Right on,
Yeah,
girl.
not that far.
Well, listen, Carissa, tell us where everybody can follow you at.
Okay. Everyone can follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, Whole Health IQ. Reach out to me, DM me. I'm there. And thank you so much for having me here. Truly.
Girl, thank you for
This
coming.
is thank you.
Honestly, and I just want to let you know, um, it's very important. I like your approach. I like also incorporating the churches too, because everybody. I mean, a lot of folks still go to church, and that you could reach
Yeah.
a whole lot of folk in church. I think churches can do more. I think they should be called to the carpet on that because they show accept the offerings uh,
Right.
every Sunday in the church.
Come
But
on.
uh, I also have to ask you because the sisters out there want to know what Carissa Hunter watching on TV, if anything.
I don't have a TV.
All
I
right,
don't have a TV.
she don't have a TV. So tell us
I
about
haven't had a TV since.
the dangers of TV, Carissa.
um, well, it's a lot. My husband and I we stopped in 2015. We have a projector. We watch Netflix. We watch Prime, but we are so very conscious of what we put in our brain. We have two children. We homeschool them. We unschool them. They've never been in the public system. But we are very much protective on what we're programming in their brains and their eyes, and we explain that to them. Um, we're very conscious of that. And I'm a military family. I don't watch the news. I don't need to be watching the news. I stay away from it. Mm-mm.
Military? Yeah, I know that's right. I know that's right.
No, mm-mm, I don't do it.
Well, girl, listen, it's been a sincere pleasure, and
This is great.
hey,
Yes,
listen, nothing but the best to you. And if there's any way I can help,
thank you. You
just
too.
holler at me, okay?
I appreciate it so much.
Carissa Hunter, y'all.
Thank you.